Hey guys, today's a new what if called What If Naruto Was no had the powers of the seven deadly sins. So let's get into this. Naruto had just escaped a beating from the Shinobian villagers during one of the yearly fox hunts. As he managed to climb the fence of the training ground 44, more commonly known as the Forest of Death. Naruto kept looking and walking around looking for some shelter. Somewhere in the forest, when he suddenly found a temple, but when he went to open the door, he noticed that it wouldn't budge. Naruto then saw 7 symbols on the front of the door. Then he looked on the 7 symbols that were on his arm and thought, yeah, these are similar. So Naruto then said to himself, how about I do this? Naruto then grabbed the stick and literally just tried to make himself bleed, and he did it, and then wiped his blood all over the marks. Then the marks decided to start to glow, and the door swung open. There stood 7 pedestals with 7 weapons: a warhammer, a dagger, a bow and arrows, a crystal orb and 3 section staff, and an axe and a spear. Then, so, we all know these are the weapons of the seven deadly sins. On each pedestal had the wielder's name on it. And well, he saw Lost Fame, previous owner Meliodas, Dragon Sin of Wrath. Definitely like me, Rita, previous owner Escanor, Lion Sin of Pride. That's definitely Sasuke. Hurt, Harlot, previous owner Goat Sin of Lust. That's obviously, And Jaina, previous owner Diane, Serpent Sin of Envy. Sounds a lot like Sakura. Chastaful, previous owner King of Sloth. Sounds like Shikamaru. Morning Star Adelaide, previous owner Merlin. Boar Sin of Gluttony, previous owner Merlin. And, well, I'm pretty sure Choji would fit that perfectly. And Bond, Fox Sin of Greed. That's definitely Kiba Baka. Naruto then reached for one of the weapons when suddenly they began to glow. And then it happened. The previous owners appeared, the 7 deadly sins. Meliodas then stepped forward and said, so you're the one who's been given our sins. Even before you ask what is a sin, it's a power derived from magic. The 7 marks on your arms are these sins. In a matter of speaking, they're a type of curse. You're the only one who are able to control them for now, and we're going to train you on how to use the same powers and weapons we had. For now, I suggest not accessing the Sin of Wrath. That's actually the more dangerous one, and I would know because I am that sin. I'm the former Dragon Sin of Wrath and 7 deadly sins leader, Meliodas, at your service. You look hungry, I'll cook you something. All the other sins yell, no, don't eat his cooking. Kid, run for your lives. Mom then grabbed him, threw him, and then grabbed the spatula and frying pan from Meliodas and said, listen up, Meliodas. You might be the leader, but you suck at cooking, remember? I know it's been thousands of years, but I didn't think you would forget how much torture and pain you caused them. That's more than the Demon King caused them, boy. I'm the cook, you're the leader. Elizabeth's the healer and waitress. Remember your place in the kitchen, Runt. Your job is to gather ingredients and not burn them to a crisp. And then Meliodas came back with a remark. And did you forget who exactly is the owner of the boar's hat and hired you as the cook to begin with, Bond? All right, I am. It's my tavern. I'll run it as I see fit. If it weren't for me, you'll still be sitting in a prison cell in Mauritania, starving and waiting for your execution. And Bond said, oh, please, we all know I'll only imagine escape before, because Deanne is a giant and bust me out before they could even put me on trial. As always, I got lucky. Listen, kid, I really Listen, kid, I want a really cool ability to start with, not train in my first sin. Former. If you want a really cool sin ability to start with, why not train in my sin first? Former fox sin of greed at your service. I'll teach you everything I know about how to be an incredible thief, break into highly guarded places while getting caught. I'll also teach you how to use my secret weapon. Forget about the other weapons right now. Let's start training. What do you say, kid? You interested? Garrison said, hey, what about us? Don't act like we're not important here. Escanor then said, forgive me for interrupting, but I think the man should first prioritize son to get some rest first and have Miss Elizabeth heal his injuries before he does anything strenuous that might further injure him. He already fell asleep, so I would take him to the room upstairs for rest and begin his training tomorrow. And Merlin said, please be a dear and close the temple door so it's not freezing cold in here. We don't want anyone inviting guests, do we? And Merlin said, sure thing, Escanor. I'll use my magic to reinforce the locking mechanism, so we put a magic barrier around it to hide our presence from prying eyes. I sense someone is watching us from their desk right now with a similar object like Morning Star Adela. Probably just that old man Hokage trying to figure out where I am again to assert that the Night Tales isn't trying to break free. Soccer, isn't it? I'm the host of the most powerful demon in the village, and everyone hates me, blames me for just because I keep them from dying a horrible death. See these weak whisker marks on my cheek? Basically, those are the signal I have that beast. The people of the village are always under the assumption I am the demon fox because I was born on the same night as, the demon fox, and they are like a flock of sheep-following manipulative Zephyr. That the same ignorant has now been inbred with their own children as well, but I don't hate them, I rather pity them. Kinglet said, this kid got the right idea. He yawns. I'm gonna go take a nap for myself. See you guys whenever I wake up to train the kid. Good night. Naruto then fell asleep and eventually will wake up the next day fully healed and ready to train. As Elizabeth was training Naruto's injuries, she couldn't help but feel sympathy for Naruto. At the same time, she wanted to do anything she could to protect him from the villagers. And Elizabeth said, guys, I think it's best if we keep him here until he's strong enough to fully defend himself and master all of our abilities. I'll also pitch in and teaching him some healing magic. At least the basics at first. Then the more advanced spells, like, purge, to purge all of them. After fully healing Naruto's injuries, Merlin and Escanor carried Naruto up to the guest room of the temple and tucked him into bed. They then decided to have a team meeting as Meliodas said, alright everyone, we'll all have to train them in our abilities and weapons, but we need to come up with a schedule on how they're going to be able to, make it possible without fighting each other. Training begins tomorrow. We need to decide which sin would be easiest for him to control. Any volunteers? And then Natsuko said the sun will be up tomorrow, so I can train him in how to use my lance and pride and some of the basics of the, how the axe works. And then the end says I'll teach him how to grow in strength so he can, learn how to use my hammer. Afterwards, I suggested the others train him in their respective weapons and abilities as well. The Sin of Wrath, the last one to train him. And Mario said, you have a good point there, Escanor. You're more powerful during the day than you are at night. The rest of us will train him in orders of sin. First pride, then envy, then sloth, then lust, then greed, then gluttony, and then wrath. With a plan of action ready to train Naruto in their magic powers, weapons are following days were going to be very interesting. Naruto has more training than he could have ever imagined, but it was more like a family he sees them as. And who would be crazy enough to fight the 7 strongest people in the world? Well, every Jonin and Hokage in the village, of course. Sadly, the Hokage would eventually learn that they're far stronger forces than they tell be, so powers so strong they could erase entire villages while trying. One thing was clear, Konoha had evoked the wrath of the Sims, a punishment not so easily avoided with constant coincidences. So, that is the end of chapter 1. So, chapter 2, training with the sin of pride. I'll do 3 chapters in the story. Okay, the next day, Naruto woke up in a place he's unfamiliar with. Since the last day, he remembered escaping from the village Shinobi, and there was another fox hunt rallies. After that, he remembered coming across 7 unique weapons and meeting 7 people who owned them. Naruto then sat up and said, "Wow, it feels like I just had a crazy dream that I had 7 powerful abilities that aren't normal. Was it all a dream, I wondered?" One way to find out, Naruto pinched himself and said, "Ouch, yeah, okay, yeah, it's not a dream. It was really actually happened." Escanor then walked in carrying his axe. Of course, it wasn't a dream, young man. My name is Escanor, former sin of pride. At your service. Before we begin our training in my magic abilities, I may need to know your name." Naruto didn't say, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." "Is that axe heavy, Escanor-sensei?" "I know it's awfully huge, so how can you carry it?" And Escanor said, "Well, my friend, that's one of my abilities. Walks with the sunlight, my muscles increase, and be able to, lift a mountain if I really wanted to. And even use my blade to set things on fire, with my ability called Sunshine, which I shall explain with more detail once your training begins. Follow me, please. We have much work to do, young lad." Naruto and Escanor then went out where the sun was and had risen high above the forests of the Hidden Leaf Village, as Naruto could somehow feel the powers of the limestone coursing through his veins. Naruto said, "Wow, this sunlight feels so intense, as though it's making me stronger. Is this what you're talking about, Escanor-sama?" Anyway, sorry for the background, but I just fixed that. So, we see Naruto then raised his hand into the sky, and Escanor did and said the next thing he knew, his body grew to the height and build of the 4th Raikage. Naruto then said, "Wow, this is incredible. What else I can do with these Sin's powers? Sensei, what else can I do?" See the excitement to learn more about the Sin of Pride. Escanor continued to show Naruto more of his powers as he held up his pointer finger and formed a miniature sun on the tip of his finger. Escanor said, "Using Sunshine's power can make you focus all of the power into one attack, into your entire body. That power can make you stronger, yes, but as you see, it has many offensive abilities. This is another ability it's got. This spell is called Cruel Sun. You can form a ball of fire in the energy of the size of a mountain or the entire planet itself. Its downside is the more powerful the attack, the more magic you use. It is a double-edged sword. But that should be, finished once you get Merlin's ability, which gives you infinite magic. So, yeah. And well, you should know that you only have a 12-hour time limit about it. So, yeah, once the sun goes down, you're completely vulnerable and at disadvantage. So, use it wisely. Now, watch this and do as I do correctly. Escanor then forms a mid-sized ball of fire in his hand and threw it like a baseball at a tree, and it set it ablaze. Naruto watched as the entire tree was produced the ash. And the ground was completely scorched. Naruto said, "Amazing. Okay, now my turn." He focused his power into the palm of his hand and held it, and Naruto threw the ball, and a burning trail of scorched flame through the forest as the fireball explosion said. And Naruto said, "That was fun. What's next?" Escanor just laughed and said, "Ha ha ha. You're a quick learner. You catch on to my techniques. Alright, next is how the properties were weaponed. Sacred Axe Rita, answer my call." Escanor's axe flew right into his hand, and he grasped it in his large hand. And Escanor said, "Divine Axe Rita, the weapons are extension of our ability. This one allows me to absorb sunlight setting in on the fire and make it more powerful. Basically, it's like a generator or an energy source I can pull on for energy. Along with the axe is also a spiked brass knuckle and its short spear head. It's like a sword and an axe in one, and it can easily cut through anything. So even if you're separated from all of it, you must simply call its name and it will return to your hand, and only you'll be able to possess it. Any other person who tries to possess it will be greatly struggle because of how heavy it is. Esmer then raised the axe to the blade and then set it on fire and sliced through a tree that was 100 feet tall, more than 50 centimeters wide, like a hot knife to butter. And that's how OP the axe is. Well, that's incredible. That tree was that's ginormous. He cut through it like it was nothing. Awesome. The ant said, "It's pretty cool. My sacred treasure, the ant can destroy entire fields with a single swing and cause earthquakes, and even destroy entire mountains. But it's nothing compared to what Meliodas and his full counter is capable of when he's in assault mode." And Nestor said it's true. There's been many times we see Meliodas go full demon mode and destroy entire fortresses without trying. Which is why it's the last sin you'll learn to use in battle. The dragon's sin of wrath is one not to be taken lightly. If you lose your control, you might destroy the world. With all our powers combined, it's the most powerful of all the 7 deadly sins in existence. Only one other individual can come close to matching it: the archangels and the demon king himself. Naruto and Eskimo continued to train for the remainder of the day until the sun began to set. Afterwards, the ant took over his training and would enjoy putting him through the ringer, as he put it. Naruto could tell he wasn't going to enjoy her training on how big of a sadistic, devious grin he had on her face. If only he knew just how strong a giantess Diane really was. It was a good thing that there was a tree in the forest of death was taller than Diane in comparison, but she still had enough strength to strangle the life out of a Sefto. How can I say this? Ganfabuta? She could choke the life out of him, choke the life out of the Nine Tails with her bare hands. Naruto looked at the end as he saw her twirling her hammer gleaming too excitedly. Naruto said, "Why do I feel your training is not going to be as easy as Eskimo Senpai was?" And she said, I can just tell you that you're in for a world of pain and agony afterwards, aren't I?" And the ant said, "Yes, you are, Naruto Uzumaki. If you think Sacred Axe Rita is heavy," boom, the ant slammed the hammer into the ground, creating a small crater enough to suck the earth. And the ant said, "My weapon is the heaviest of all 7 weapons there is. I don't even know if Eskimo's power. I don't know even with Eskimo's power you can lift it. But for now, I'll give you a more hands-on training on how to use my magic. You see, my sin is envy, which allows me to become very strong and create giant pillars of earth and stone with my bare fists. Do you think I built this temple to begin with? Your clan have helped us from the foundation of their village in the Whirlpool country. You could say that magic and chakra are similar but different at the same time. Now, John's this little, right?" As Naruto then was forced to run and dodge all of Naruto's fists, pillars, and stone, the ants, and that eruption from the ground. After the day had ended, Naruto had been exhausted, being using Sunshine power to defend himself with Sacred Axe Rita and Cruel Sun spell. He went over to Elizabeth, who healed his minor injury, as Mom came over with a dinner plate, and Naruto slowly enjoyed his dinner with new surrogate family. Naruto said this is the best meal I've had in a long time, but I'm almost tempted to say it could give Ichiraku ramen and run for its money, literally. Vaughn said, will you teach me how to cook so I'm not messing up the recipes like Meliodas Sama did before? And Vaughn said, you better believe I'll teach you how to cook it, kid. It's basically an essential thing that all thieves need to know. It needs to know how to survive on their own and cook. Come on, we'll start with your training cooking right now. If you're up for it, I'll teach you all the best recipes on the board has to offer and how to improve your stealth inspiration skills tomorrow morning. Don't worry, my training isn't like the Nams, who is a direct approach of murder. I want to murder you and make you stronger at the same time. And after doing my training, it's bad. After thinking our training is bad, just wait until you're with Meliodas. He doesn't know how to hold back sometimes. I think he's enjoying going all out in sparring match. He's not the captain of the 7 deadly sins for no reason, you know. Cause like if you see the manga, this is like out of the story. If you see the manga, Meliodas became the Demon King. The manga ended, right? Yeah, it ended. Let me get back to the story. He's actually one of the most powerful people you can face on the battlefield and not walk out alive. In some cases, if he's feeling merciless, he'll let you live. It's because he wants to put fear in the hearts of his enemies so that they think twice about fighting us. And Naruto said, as he stirred a pot of beef stew for dinner, wow, he's really that strong, but I guess I have to step my workout regimen if I'm going to be able to use all of your guys' powers at the same time, so individually. I think that stew's ready. What do you think, Bon Sensei? So we take it to the table? Bon then tasted the soup and said, no, it was perfect. Almost too perfect. Bon's eyes then widened in amazement and said, that's incredible. What else did you add to this? I have to know so I can keep it in the record. And Naruto said, I didn't ask anything else, just except for a few herbs, spices like garlic powder, paprika, chili peppers, plus a dash of anecdote to balance everything out. Why? Bon said, kid, this is the best beef stew I've ever tasted. Even I've never made something this amazing before. You really have a talent for cooking, you know. Naruto didn't know it, but he had just earned the praise and acceptance of all sins to be their new assistant for their tavern. Little did Naruto know that his side skill would draw attention to quite a few girls in the graduating class from the, Shinobi Academy. Girls like Hinata Hyuga, Ino Yamayaka, and Sakura Haruno, to his surprise. Although Sakura probably would never acknowledge Naruto. She never acknowledged Naruto. Remember that. Remember, she would never acknowledge him. Naruto, for his cooking skills, he would attract the attention of many women nonetheless. One thing was clear: Naruto just scratching the surface of each sin's powers, and he already made a great improvement by leaps and bounds. It wouldn't be long before he'd be training with Meliodas personally, and he's gonna be the best sparring match yet. Vaughn was right about one thing: Naruto is basically, really, definitely, will struggle against Meliodas. Learning the basics of the sin of wrath, the most powerful of them all, the most dangerous. How powerful Naruto will become with all 7 sins at his disposal, only time would tell. But this is the end of What If Naruto Had the 7 Deadly Sins powers. So, bye guys.